delve into the shadowy realm of CIA interrogation tactics and unearth the grim truths hidden within their most brutal methods. Join us as we navigate the chilling world of covert operations, exposing the stark realities behind the CIA's infamous interrogation techniques. From waterboarding to sensory deprivation, embark on a journey through history's darkest corridors, where moral boundaries are blurred and human resilience is put to the ultimate test. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration that unveils the darkest facets of intelligence gathering, some of the brutal tortures often carried out by the CIA No. 7. Nudity, utilized as a CIA interrogation technique, involves forcibly removing clothing from detainees to induce psychological distress and shame. This method is often integrated into a broader strategy aimed at dismantling the detainee's sense of self, dignity, and resistance. Stripped of their garments, detainees become exposed and vulnerable, amplifying sensations of humiliation, degradation, and powerlessness. The employment of nudity as a torture tactic not only causes physical discomfort, but also inflicts lasting psychological harm. It robs individuals of their privacy and autonomy, leaving them feeling exposed and debased. Moreover, in numerous cultural and societal contexts, nudity carries significant taboos and is linked with feelings of embarrassment and vulnerability. Consequently, the forced disrobing of detainees can deeply affect their mental and emotional well-being. Furthermore, the use of nudity in interrogation serves to establish dominance and control over the detainee by interrogators or authorities. It reinforces a power dynamic where interrogators exert authority over detainees, intensifying their sense of helplessness. In summary, nudity as a CIA torture method inflicts both physical and psychological harm, leveraging cultural and religious taboos to induce distress. Detainees are often required to be partially or fully unclothed during questioning, sometimes in conjunction with exposure to cold temperatures and showers. The case of Gul Rahman, an Afghan detainee who died under suspicion of hypothermia after enduring 48 hours of sleep deprivation while being half naked in an extremely cold room, underscores the severity and brutality of this technique. Number 6. Walling. The CIA's walling method used in interrogations entails forcefully propelling a detainee against a wall, aiming to induce physical pain, disorientation, and psychological distress. Typically, this involves pushing or striking the detainee's head against the wall, potentially causing blunt force trauma, leading to injuries such as concussions or head trauma. The objective of walling is multifaceted. Physically, it immediately inflicts pain and discomfort, leaving the detainee vulnerable and disoriented. Psychologically, it seeks to break down the detainee's mental resilience, instilling fear and compliance. Moreover, forcibly thrusting someone against a wall is inherently degrading and humiliating, further eroding the detainee's sense of dignity and autonomy. Often utilized alongside other harsh interrogation techniques, walling forms part of a broader strategy to extract information or confessions from detainees. However, akin to other forms of physical torture, it has drawn condemnation from human rights groups and medical experts due to its potential for severe physical and psychological harm. In essence, walling as a CIA torture method involves forcefully slamming a detainee against a wall, inflicting physical pain, disorientation, and psychological distress. It represents a brutal and dehumanizing approach aimed at coercing compliance and extracting information. This form of torture involves encircling the detainee's neck with a collar or towel and slamming their head against the wall. For instance, detained individuals like Abu Ja'far al-Iraqi suffered from edema, while Amr al-Baluchi sustained brain damage and burst arteries as a result of this practice. But before we get started, hit the subscribe button to stay updated. Number 5. Belly busting. The belly busting torture method entails subjecting a detainee to repetitive and vigorous strikes or kicks directed at the abdominal region, with the intention of causing significant pain and discomfort. This approach often leads to physical harm such as bruising, internal bleeding, or damage to internal organs. This technique serves a dual purpose. Physically, it induces immediate and severe pain, rendering the detainee incapacitated and vulnerable. Psychologically, it aims to weaken the detainee's mental fortitude, instilling fear and compliance by threatening further acts of violence. Belly busting is frequently employed alongside other physical and psychological torture methods as part of an interrogation strategy aimed at extracting information or confessions from detainees. Despite its common use, it has faced widespread condemnation from human rights groups and medical experts due to its extreme brutality and potential for causing enduring physical and psychological trauma. While belly busting involves striking the bare abdomen, it is not formally recognized as an interrogation technique. Rather, it is utilized to modify detainee behavior and administer punishment for perceived infractions. Those subjected to belly busting describe it as shocking and deeply frightening, with the pain being secondary to the dehumanizing, emasculating, and humiliating nature of the experience. In summary, belly busting as a torture method involves subjecting a detainee to repeated and forceful blows to the abdomen, with the aim of inflicting pain, inducing submission, and instilling fear. It represents a gross violation of human rights and dignity, demonstrating the extreme cruelty of torture practices. Number 4. Waterboarding, a well-known torture tactic. Waterboarding creates the sensation of asphyxiation or drowning. The detainee is immobilized on his back, and water is poured over the cloth covering his face. A detainee, Khalid Sheikh, was waterboarded around 183 times. Another detainee, Abu Zubaydah, was waterboarded so often that it led him to become completely unresponsive multiple times, with bubbles rising through his mouth. Sometimes they would tilt a board to their head, closer to the ground. In this position, they could feel the water going up their nose. But it is very short, maybe 15 seconds. Sometimes they tilted the board so that their head will be higher. In this position, the watering will last much longer. Sometimes they would use warm or room temperature water, and sometimes they would use ice water. If the detainees were trying to play tough guys and act like they could take it all day, belly busting would be added to their punishment. Either before, after, or during the watering, depending on how much they needed to do to prove to the detainees that they hadn't been in control and that there was absolutely no way that they could resist the torture because they could always make it worse, much worse. They would also supplement the waterboarding with some love slaps. Number 3. Sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation was regularly utilized and considered a crucial technique in enhanced interrogations. Many of these methods overlapped with other interrogation tactics, such as the use of stress positions and shackling detainees in a standing position with their hands in front of them. One of the most notorious practices involved playing loud music and white noise continuously, sometimes looping for 24 hours a day. Detainees were also housed in deliberately cold cells to hinder sleep. While the agency was authorized to keep a detainee awake for up to 180 hours, it informed the Justice Department that it only subjected 3 detainees to a maximum of 96 hours of sleep deprivation. According to interviews conducted by the ICRC, 11 out of 14 detainees reported experiencing sleep deprivation. One detainee recounted that guards would spray water in their face if they began to doze off. The torture report revealed that 4 detainees, 2 of whom had medical complications in their lower extremities, including broken feet sustained while attempting to escape capture, were subjected to prolonged periods of shackled standing positions to induce sleep deprivation. Despite recommendations that their injuries made such interrogation methods inappropriate, these detainees, including Abu Hazim and Abd al-Karim, were also subjected to walling, stress positions, and cramped confinement. Sleep deprivation can cause hallucinations, poor thinking, inhibited decision-making, confusion, headaches, nausea, paranoia, and lots. Number 2. Rectal feeding and rectal exams. Rectal feeding and rectal exams are contentious practices employed in interrogation settings, particularly against detainees who resist food intake in protest against their jailers. In this method, a tube containing food is forcibly inserted into the detainee's anal passage by CIA authorities, despite the significant risk of causing permanent harm. Contrary to its purported purpose of providing nourishment, this technique is widely regarded as a form of torture, with the intent of inflicting harm rather than meeting nutritional needs. Shockingly, there have been instances where detainees endured additional brutality, such as a detainee subjected to surgery after an angry soldier inserted a broom into their anal passage. These practices have been strongly condemned by medical professionals and human rights advocates due to their potential to cause severe physical and psychological damage. The rectum is not equipped to absorb nutrients or fluids in the same manner as the digestive system, leading to serious health complications such as infections, perforations, and internal injuries. Moreover, the invasive and degrading nature of rectal feeding and rehydration violates fundamental principles of human dignity and ethical standards. Despite widespread condemnation, reports indicate the persistence of these techniques, particularly in cases involving detainees held by the CIA during the post-9/11 War on Terror era. At least 5 detainees were reportedly subjected to rectal feeding, with one example involving accused USS Cole bomber Abd al-Rahim al-Nashiri, positioned in a forward-facing position during the procedure. Additionally, detainee Majid Khan, a legal resident of the United States and alleged associate of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was also subjected to rectal feeding, as documented in a CIA cable. Mohammed himself underwent rectal rehydration without any medical justification, highlighting the use of these methods as a means of exerting control over detainees. Number 1. The CIA's Cubes torture method involves subjecting detainees to extended periods of confinement in incredibly small, coffin-like enclosures. These tight and claustrophobic spaces offer little room for detainees to stand, sit, or lie down comfortably, resulting in physical discomfort and psychological distress. The primary aim of the Cubes technique is to inflict psychological anguish and sensory deprivation by isolating detainees from external stimuli and confining them in cramped quarters for prolonged periods. This isolation and confinement can trigger feelings of anxiety, panic, and helplessness, exacerbating any pre-existing mental health issues. Employed as part of a broader psychological torture strategy, the Cubes method seeks to break the detainee's will and extract information or confessions. It is often combined with other harsh interrogation tactics like sleep deprivation, stress positions, and sensory overload to induce extreme psychological distress. This torment involves arranging approximately 6 very small boxes, stacked 3 on top of 3, into which detainees are folded in half and shoved feet first before the doors are locked. Additionally, interrogators may simulate a fire, further terrorizing detainees with the belief they may be burnt alive in the confined space. Prolonged confinement in these conditions can result in detainees losing sensation and mobility in their legs, requiring them to drag themselves out when eventually released. The pain and discomfort can be excruciating, with recovery taking time before detainees regain full use of their legs. Despite being widely utilized by intelligence agencies, the Cubes method has faced condemnation from human rights groups and medical experts for its brutal and inhumane nature. It flagrantly violates fundamental human rights and ethical standards by inflicting unnecessary suffering on detainees without yielding any significant intelligence or security gains. As we conclude our exploration into the world of CIA interrogation tactics, it's crucial to reflect on the gravity of what we've uncovered. The methods discussed in this video shed light on a dark aspect of history, reminding us of the importance of accountability, transparency, and respect for human rights. While the pursuit of security is paramount, it must never come at the expense of our fundamental values and principles. We encourage you to continue learning, questioning, and advocating for a world where justice is pursued with integrity and compassion. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we hope this video has sparked meaningful reflection and dialogue. Remember, it is only by confronting the past that we can strive for a better future. If you loved this video, please subscribe to this channel for more similar content. Please remember to like and share this video next time.